Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another video here on GLR. We are Greg and Lisa.
Hey guys, today's video, why the British think they're not part of Europe.
Interesting. And today's video is brought to you by Brit in Germany. We will include a link in the description. Head on over there, subscribe to his channel, and do all of the YouTube stuff. I'm sure he'd appreciate that.
He would love that.
So this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We know they're not part of the EU.
Yes.
Or y'all are not part of the EU anymore.
Yes.
And we've heard that they feel disconnected or not part of Europe.
Yes.
But I don't know if others in Europe feel that way, or if it's
other countries in Europe feel that way?
Feel that way about the UK, the Brits.
Oh, I see.
Or if it's just their own feelings.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he can shine some light on it.
Yeah. And he, oh my gosh, what's his name?
Oh, I forgot. We've done things by him.
He does a lot of German videos, so we see him a lot we watch him a lot in our German channel.
Yeah.
But he is from somewhere in the UK. I don't know where.
I don't know. Dang it. I guess we should have known that.
I know.
But anyway, I think it's going to be a good video. Yeah. So I'm looking forward. I'm just talking too fast. I don't know what's going on. All right, before we get going here, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, help us reach 50,000. And we do want to point out that we do have a Patreon. We've been working really hard on that so we can try and get ahead. And we're getting pretty close to being ahead about 4 weeks. And for all of our videos, and it's going to allow you to get early access. They also get videos that are sometimes don't make it over to YouTube, all of the uncut videos, no advertisements, all of those great things. So we definitely want to talk about Patreon because it's going to be worth your while to head on over there.
And I actually have a 7-day free trial. So if you just want to go over there and check it out and see what we're doing and offering, and if you like it, stay. If you don't, you can, not stay.
Why did I just say, oh, cool? Like, I don't even know. Like we don't live together. Like,
Yeah, I told him I did this.
Yeah, she did. She did tell me. She tell the truth. All right, let's go. Let's check it out.
Okay.
So a question that I get all the time, especially since living in Germany, is why do the British think that they are not part of Europe? And I get it, it's a fair question. And to most Europeans, the answer feels obvious. You're on the map, you're just across the channel. Of course you're part of Europe. But geographic proximity does not dictate identity, and identity isn't about logic, it's emotional. And the truth is, the UK has never seen itself as European. And now, before people freak out in the comments, I get it. The UK itself is somewhat divided on this issue. Scotland feels closer to Europe than Wales or England does. And the government's actions do not always represent the will of the majority of people. But for simplicity's sake, I am just going to talk about the UK and British identity as a whole. So even before Brexit, people spoke about Europe and the UK like they were two separate entities. Nobody says Europe and France, or Europe and Spain, or Europe and Germany, but Europe and the UK, that just kind of rolls off the tongue like it's always been the case. And when I moved to Germany over a decade ago, I came up against this misunderstanding very often. Germans would tell me all the time that, of course, the UK is Europe, not as a gesture of inclusion, but just as a matter of fact. I think this is why Brexit was particularly painful for the Germans. And I had many situations where people were personally upset with me. They felt really hurt, as if this was some kind of divorce they never got a say in. Now, just before we go any further, I
did hear that. I do feel like I've heard that there was even a video about how Germans felt about Brexit. Like it affected them so much that a video was created about it.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of relationship between the Germans and the UK.
Yeah.
That I don't know. I wasn't aware of.
Yeah. I wasn't
either.
I'm not your average Brit because I have lived outside of the UK now for almost 20 years. And in fact, I've almost lived outside longer than I have lived within the borders of the UK. And this changes you on a fundamental level. I feel very connected to Europe and also to the UK, but this is the exception. Not many people feel this way. Ask an average Brit in the UK if they feel European, and you'll usually just get a pause, maybe a vague shrug, or an outright no. And according to the latest Eurobarometer survey, 64% of people in the UK deny feeling European in any way. And so why is this?
I don't know. Okay, if they don't feel European, I don't know. I wonder what they feel. British?
Yeah, just their own. For some reason, they just want to maybe have their own identity. Don't want to be connected to Europe for some reason.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I mean,
there's a part of my brain that can understand that. You know, I'm thinking I'm not even British, but I can understand that.
You can?
Yeah, I don't know why. Their cultures are different
than other European countries.
Yeah, like Spain is completely different from the UK.
Right.
France, Germany. I think Germans are and UK are completely different.
Yeah.
Their pop culture is completely different.
Yeah.
What they're interested in.
That's true.
Is completely different. Mm-hmm. So there's a disconnect.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
There.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that makes the British feel different? Well, most people don't really know. You know, it's a feeling that if you really take the time to fully articulate, and many people will probably disagree with my take. But after thinking about this for some time, I think there are 6 main reasons which have contributed to this over time. Now, each one in isolation doesn't make the UK situation unique, but if you take all of these points together, I think it really goes a long way to explaining why this dissonance exists. So the first thing that makes the British feel separate from Europe is the geography. Now, I think this is pretty obvious. I'm sure you've heard of the island mentality before. The UK is physically separated from Europe, but it's not just the physical separation. It's what that separation allowed the UK to become. While Europe rose and fell through shifting borders and land wars, Britain had the luxury of distance. Britain didn't need to entangle itself unless it chose to, and that created a national psychology of watching from the shore, of stepping in only when it suited us. The English Channel isn't just a body of water, it's a psychological moat. It's a buffer between us and them. Now, the second thing which sets the UK apart is the empire. It gave Britain a global identity. While European countries were rebuilding themselves after the war, Britain still saw itself as managing the world. Even though politically and economically Britain has lost relevance, culturally and symbolically it's more complicated. So historically, our focus has been outward, not inward. Our alliances stretch to places like India and Canada, Australia, not to Brussels or Berlin. Even today, many Brits still feel more at home talking to someone from Sydney or Toronto than they do to someone from Vienna or Barcelona. Yeah. It's not just the language, it's the sensibility. The Commonwealth gave Britain a sense of being global, not continental. And I know that most people don't understand the Commonwealth, but all you really need to know is that while it has declined a lot, it is still in place. Some have joined it by choice, like Mozambique in 95 and Rwanda in 2009. And just like you can feel the remnants of communism in countries which were under...
I was going to say, because he's talking about how international they are. In a lot of the TV shows we're watching, the panel shows, there are, and I can see it in our statistics, there's people from Australia, like we have Australian subscribers. We have Canada. People from Canada are saying, "Oh yeah, I've watched that show." They know about it.
Yeah, that's true.
And yeah, New Zealand, and they are global.
Yeah.
And have a connection with internationally, where a lot of the rest of Europe doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's true.
Communist rule. It is the same for Britain. You can still feel it in the national psyche, that lingering belief that Britain is more than just a European country, that it's something else, that it's something bigger. And I know many people mock the British for this. There's this certain sense of Schadenfreude now, that it's, declined. But even if that belief is no longer true, it's still deeply felt. Now, the third reason that makes the UK different is that we never had a revolution. We never had our Bastille moment. No guillotines, no radical upheaval of church or monarchy. Oliver Cromwell was very different to the revolutions in Europe because it was elite-driven. It was not a popular uprising, and it failed to do away with the monarchy. So most European countries had to reinvent themselves through force. But Britain evolved slowly and reluctantly, choosing reforms instead of revolutions, adjustments instead of resets. We kept the monarchy, we kept our class system, we kept our continuity. And there's a deep conservatism at the heart of British identity, not necessarily politically, but psychologically. The British see themselves as the steady hand while Europe is full of fervid ideologies. You know, we watch the...
I could see that. Like they see themselves as like the adult in the room. Kind of.
Yeah, because...
I mean, it's like everybody else has all these problems and wars and everything, and they're just... Yeah.
They're like, what the hell?
And I mean, it could probably be debated why that is, but but I could see what he's saying.
Continent swing from monarchy to fascism to communism and back again. And through it all, Britain stayed relatively stable. You know, Britain wore that stability and sense of looking on from the sidelines like a badge of honor, and to a certain extent it still does. The fourth point to note is that the legal DNA of Britain is just different. You know, the entire legal system is fundamentally different from that of most European countries. Britain runs on common law. Europe runs on civil law. And yes, before someone mentions it, I know that Scotland runs on a mix of both. But that difference is more than technical, it's philosophical. To cut a long story short, common law is bottom up. It builds on precedent case by case. It trusts the wisdom of history and the judgment of courts. It's built on real-life events. Civil law is top-down, it's codified, it's structured, and it's built from theory. This shapes how we think about authority, fairness, and rules. And so in Britain, the law is lived and interpreted. And in much of Europe, it's written and obeyed. And that's why British people instinctively bristle at bureaucracy and rigid systems and at rule by regulation. It's not arrogance. It's the deep structure of how the British think about freedom. And so perhaps, again, another reason why Brexit should not have come as a shock. The fifth point of importance is that Britain is one of the few European countries that still has a monarchy, not just in form, but in sentiment. And to be honest, I think many Europeans, and I would argue also Americans, kind of envy the UK for this. You know, in France, the revolution wiped the slate clean. In Germany, the Kaiser is long gone. But in Britain, the crown still sits at the center of national life, even if it's mostly symbolic. The monarchy connects the present to a romanticized past. And in a strange way, it reinforces our separateness. You know, we don't just feel different. We're told that we're different by tradition, by ceremony, by the very structure of our state. And again, this is not about reality. It is about symbolism and belief. And then, of course, there is the language. For more on this, I did a whole video on how language is instrumental in nation building. But the fact that we still call it English and not American or Canadian or Australian or South African adds an implicit sense of ownership. You know, English isn't just a language, it's an empire of its own. It allowed Britain to export its culture, but also to insulate itself from...
That's true. Like, I could see how you feel like everybody else who speaks English, they're like using your thing that you have created.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen comments like that where it's like they originated it or something. Yeah. But, you know, people weren't, I don't know how they were saying it in comments.
Yeah, but
it might not even been in our videos.
I think it was, but it wasn't. It was almost like a joke.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like that. Because I don't remember it being like mean and like.
No, it wasn't like arrogant, mean or nothing like that.
No, but I mean, there is, because like, I guess because America may have butchered some of the words and like so it's kind of like, well, what the heck, you know, you completely butchered our words and changed them and made them different and whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's spoken. That's why it's spoken in Canada. It's spoken in Australia and New Zealand, you know, and America, the U.S. And so, I don't know. It is interesting.
That is interesting.
Others. Now, I've talked about how English is infiltrating many.
Oh, I think we need to watch. There's a video someone recommended about all the countries that the UK invaded. Yeah. So maybe that has something to do with it.
Maybe.
Also to insulate itself from others. Now, I've talked about how English is infiltrating many languages throughout Europe, but we don't dub, we don't consume foreign media. Millions in Europe grow up watching British and American TV, but in the UK, you would struggle to find a teenager who's seen a German film or a French series. Language is more than vocabulary. It's a worldview. And as I mentioned in the video that I did on language, it's far more powerful than physical weapons because the language is the vessel for the worldview.
That's true.
And so when Europeans ask, why don't the British feel European? The answer, in my opinion, is very simple, because Britain has spent centuries constructing a story in which Britain is not European, not just a part, but different, more stable, more global, more measured, less ideological, less revolutionary, less continental. And that story may not be accurate anymore, but national identity is not based on accuracy. It's based on belief, on feelings, and on emotions. And the emotion Britain feels towards Europe is at best ambivalent. And so I still think that most Europeans just don't understand this. And even after this video, probably might just be shaking your head in disbelief. This was my attempt to explain the cultural sentiment of the UK towards Europe. This is not my personal point of view. I love Europe. I love the rich density of culture and language that this continent provides. I love Germany, and I think that the British have a lot in common with the Germans and also with the Dutch. But most Brits would not agree with this, or even if they did, they would not like to admit it. And so that is that. If you are interested, I also write. There is a link in the description below for my Substack.
I'll stop it right there. That was good.
Yeah, I would say that there's, not knowing the videos that we've done with the Netherlands, I would say there's some commonalities between the Dutch and the British as well.
Yeah.
I see that. I would see that more than Germans, more than French.
Right.
Spaniards, no.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting.
Yeah, which I think you're kind of saying, like, adding some relevance to what he's saying. I mean, those are, how you're feeling like, no, they're not so much like, because I think that was really interesting though. I haven't really thought of it like that. I guess in my mind, I always thought that it was a part of Europe, just because we're over here, like in this part of the world, so it's all Europe.
But he brings up some good points. This guy always, you guys,
he makes great videos.
He does make great thought-provoking videos.
Yeah.
And these are thought-provoking, where it opens up your mind to how globalized and how international the UK is. And you don't even realize that.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure they do. You all probably do.
Yeah.
But we had not.
Yeah. That's true.
Fascinating.
Right. So let's take a look here, see what the people have to say. As a Japanese, I would say the British and the Japanese share the island state mentality.
I mean, there, in Hawaii is the only island we have in the U.S., and there definitely is an island mentality.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm going to the short ones.
Okay.
All right. Strangely enough, the Irish consider themselves as Europeans. I think the reason for the UK's detachment is mainly empire dreaming. Empire dreaming?
That's what it said.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Ooh, look at this one. Has 143 replies. As a German, I can totally understand this and I agree with it. But I'm sure there is a bigger difference between, for example, Finland and Spain than between Britain and Germany or Britain and Sweden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe in terms of culture, but maybe not in terms of how they see themselves as it relates to the to being European.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But as a culture, yeah.
Yeah, as a culture, yeah.
So.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good video.
Tell us your thoughts.
Tell us your thoughts. We always want to hear those. We definitely appreciate you still being here. And if you are here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That will definitely help out a lot and help us grow the channel. So as always, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video.
Bye.
Peace.